In practice, what happened, in my opinion, is that Jason Bourne turned into exactly what we trained him to be, a master assassin.
The Jason Bourne films and books show the incredible intellect and the uncanny physical attributes of the American super spy. His abilities come from his training in a secret CIA program involving mind control and other nefarious methods. What if I told you that there was an actual secret CIA program with the goal of using mind control techniques to create assassins and also manipulate the minds of foreign adversaries? That CIA secret program was called Project MKUltra. In the early 1940s, Nazi scientists based in the concentration camps in Auschwitz and Dachau during World War II began running interrogation experiments on their prisoners. Substances such as mescaline and morphine were used on the Russian, Polish, Ukrainian, and Jewish occupants of these camps in an attempt to develop a truth serum that would destroy the will to resist of whoever the drug was administered to. There was also American interest via its intelligence agency, the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, in the production of a truth serum beginning in 1943. Whilst it's unclear as to how far or successful these experiments were, we do know that in 1945, following the end of World War II, the United States government began a program called Operation Paperclip, through which over 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians were secretly taken over to the United States and employed by the government. This program would continue until 1959, and it is thought that a number of Nazi scientists involved in the inhuman concentration camp experiments were among those brought over to the United States through Operation Paperclip. In 1947, the United States Navy launched Operation Chatter, an interrogation program which began testing the effects of drug LSD on human subjects. Project MKUltra was launched by CIA Director Allen Dulles on April 13, 1953, taking over from its predecessor, Project Artichoke. Whilst the objective of Project Artichoke, under the leadership of General Walter Bedell Smith and Brigadier General Paul F. Gaynor, was to determine whether people could be made to involuntarily perform acts of assassination through the use of certain drugs, or run experiments on unsuspecting CIA agents to induce amnesia in certain individuals with a combination of drugs. Project MKUltra, led by American chemist and spy master Sidney Gottlieb, was created to test the limits of this dark science by developing mind-controlling drugs, with the prime target being the Soviet bloc. It was thought that the Soviet Union, China, and North Korea were using mind-control drugs to interrogate American prisoners of war during the Korean War, and the CIA wanted to use similar methods to interrogate their own captives from that war. They also sought to use such techniques to attempt to manipulate foreign leaders, with several attempts made to drug Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Over 30 institutions and universities were involved in the experimentation program of testing drugs on unknowing citizens. Some historians assert that one goal of Project MKUltra and related CIA projects was to create a Manchurian candidate-style subject. As the experimentation progressed, a point arrived where outsiders were drugged with no explanation given whatsoever, and surprise acid trips became something of an occupational hazard among CIA operatives. Adverse reactions often occurred, such as an operative who received a drug in his morning coffee, became psychotic, and ran across Washington, D.C., seeing a monster in every car passing him. The experiments continued even after Frank Olson, an army chemist who had never taken LSD, was covertly dosed by his CIA supervisor and 9 days later jumped from the window of a 13-story New York City hotel room, supposedly as a result of deep depression induced by the drug. The CIA exported experiments to Canada, where they recruited Scottish psychiatrist Donald Ewan Cameron, creator of the psychic driving concept, which the CIA found interesting. In addition to LSD, Cameron also experimented with various paralytic drugs, such as electroconvulsive therapy at 30 to 40 times the normal power. His driving experiments consisted of putting subjects into drug-induced comas for weeks at a time, up to 3 months in one case, while playing tape loops of noise or simple repetitive statements. His experiments were often carried out on patients who entered an institution for common problems such as anxiety disorders and postpartum depression, many of whom suffered permanent effects from his actions. His treatments resulted in victims' urinary incontinence, amnesia, forgetting how to talk, forgetting their parents, and thinking their interrogators were their parents. In areas under American control in the early 1950s in Europe and East Asia, mostly Japan, West Germany, and the Philippines, the CIA created secret detention centers, black sites. so that the US could avoid criminal prosecution. The CIA captured people suspected of being enemy agents and other people it deemed expendable to undergo various types of torture and human experimentation. The prisoners were interrogated while being administered psychoactive drugs, electroshocked, and subjected to extremes of temperature, sensory isolation, and the like to develop a better understanding of how to destroy and to control human minds. In the end, it was the biggest political scandal in American history, even though unrelated to the secret CIA program that would bring about the dismantling of Project MKUltra.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
In 1973, amid a government-wide panic caused by the Watergate scandal that would eventually force President Richard Nixon to resign, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all MKUltra files destroyed. Pursuant to this order, most CIA documents regarding the project were destroyed, making a full investigation of Project MKUltra impossible. A cache of some 20,000 documents survived Helms' purge, as they had been incorrectly stored in a financial records building and were discovered following a Freedom of Information Act request in 1977. The surviving documents are the only reason the existence of Project MKUltra became known.
I won't forget your efficiency, Herr Stossel.
You've always been more than generous, Mr. Bourne.